We're live.
And we're live. Welcome to the Team Tank Podcast. We are the Lakers outsiders, and as I said last night, we are the playoffs outsiders. We had some technical difficulties on my end. I cannot run anything from my computer right now. It does not want me to show this moneymaker I have going right now. Some of you might rejoice if that was going on. Speaking of moneymakers, Harrison, our highest paid Team Tank employee, is with us. How's it going, Harrison?
It's going pretty good, Anthony. The problem is your old Windows 97 PC doesn't have a webcam, so.
Well, the poor rat that runs in the wheel behind it, he cramped up. He's in the off-season mode already. He said, I got hurt on company time. I'm going to heal on company time, and we apparently aren't on company time right now.
You should have kept him adequately hydrated instead of just keeping the little bottle filled with vodka.
I'm a player's coach, I guess. So we are I don't know a couple weeks into the Lakers off season. I joined we had an emergency podcast last night with Craig and Justin, and just to talk to them and let them vent about the playoffs. I was living vicariously through them, really, about what it's like to be in the playoffs, because man, these are really boring without the Lakers in them. But we scoured the internets, as Byron Scott would say, and we found a couple news bits and a couple things to talk about. So Harrison and I are going to kind of look ahead to what the offseason might look like. First bit of actual news that we have is Byron's being chosen to represent the Lakers at the NBA lottery. What are your thoughts on that, Harrison?
I think I said on one of our podcasts before the season, we discussed who we'd want to go to the lottery, like jokingly, and who we would actually want to go. And my actual pick was Byron, because I just think that the unintentional comedy scale of him having to sit there and listen to the announcers be like, and here's Byron Scott to represent the Lakers, who just posted their worst record in franchise history under his watch. Like, he's going to be sitting there, like, crossing his arms, and he's either going to do, like, an awkward smile, or he's going to, like, where he looks like his teeth just are knives, and he looks, like, just so angry, or he's just going to, like, be sitting there, like...
Yeah. Well, like, I was thinking about it, like physically, logistically, can you sit with your arms crossed? Can you, like, would he raise his arms to make sure everybody knows that they're crossed? Like, guys, this doesn't change in the off season. I never stop working out my forearms. Like, I wonder about these kinds of things because, I talk about the Lakers for a good portion of my life.
Well, they're glued together, so I think that he has to sit with them. I think that he sleeps with them crossed. I think they've kind of atrophied like that at this point.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to put it, that they just can't do anything else.
It's honestly funny when I go to publish an article on Silver Screen and Roll and you type in Byron Scott because you're looking for, like, a stock picture of him, 90% of the pictures, he has his arms crossed. It's like, it's crazy when you see one that he doesn't have his arms crossed, and usually it's because they aren't showing his arms.
Well, the better part is that, with Byron, like, there was that clip of Randy Whitman the other day, right, or last week, when he couldn't figure out how to flip the thing,
playing
and
Wii
draw
Mario
up a
Kart
play.
with a clipboard.
Right, like poor Byron sitting there at Randy Whitman, like, looking longingly for the ability to move his arms. He's like, man, everybody's making fun of this guy because he's flipping around his playbook, but I can't even, you can't write with your elbows very well.
Hey, we can sit here thankful as Lakers fans and just know that our current coach, at least on that level, will not be embarrassed. Although Whitman, he busted out the Paul Pierce at the 4 thing with Otto Porter at the 3, and they're playing pretty well. I mean, it was against the Raptors, who looked like, I think they just booked their vacations like before the first round even started and wanted to make sure they didn't mess up those reservations. But
yeah, well, I think I just keep hearing rumor after rumor after rumor that they hate their coach, that they just want nothing to do with that guy anymore.
That would explain how they played.
I mean, it's just like, there are some podcasts that you guys mail in because you hate the host so badly that it's vacation time.
Did you say something?
Absolutely. So, yeah, my take on Byron going to the lottery is, man, I guess of all people that deserve to go there, it would be him because he played such a crucial part in getting the Lakers to that spot. But I have this nagging feeling that he's going to be sitting there at the lottery, and he'll be watching YouTube clips of D'Angelo Russell and Emmanuel Mudiay and any other potential point guard they could take at that spot, and think to himself, I'd still take Ronnie Price over him, you know. And I won't be able to live that one down. As that's all going on, I just.
Well, you understand that him going to the lottery doesn't mean that he gets to make the pick, right? I
Right.
mean, I
No,
think that we can all be thankful for that.
No, I agree. But like I was laughing at the fact that which report was it a couple weeks ago? I forget who reported it. It was probably Medina. He's so good at reporting Lakers news, but that Byron, wants in on these personnel decisions or is involved in these personnel decisions. The image I have in my head are Jim Buss and Kupchak leaning over this table or looking at their draft board and, with headphones on, trying to mute out Byron knocking on the door, pounding on the door. Let me in! Come on, let me in, guys. As you can tell, I don't have much respect for Byron Scott. So
Yeah, the one thing that we do have to give him credit for, which is a very basic thing for a coach to do, but like we saw with Dwayne Casey, it can happen where your players don't play hard for you anymore. And I mean, the guys did have incentive to play hard. They were all on one-year deals, but the team didn't implode like we all thought it was going to. We really, before the season, we thought that this was going to be a very, fractured locker room. These guys were going to hate each other, and that just didn't happen. So I don't know how much credit he gets for that, but for whatever reason, that didn't come to pass, and that was nice, honestly. One of the few kind of blessings.
I hate to be the wet blanket here, but think of it like this. One, you mentioned that those guys were all on their last legs in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
And the last thing that they want moving into free agency and potentially the most critical free agency period of their careers are rumors of they're not getting along with any coach, right? Because we know how tight that fraternity is.
Yeah.
Secondly, what happens, I feel like a lot of times with coaches who throw their players under the bus repeatedly is you have guys who want to go out there and play hard to spite the guy, yeah, great, it doesn't matter what we do, so I'm just going to go out, I'm going to look like I'm playing hard, I'm not going to say anything negative about the guy because I don't want that reputation, which already affected Ed Davis, right? Part of the reason they got him for a minimum is because of that same kind of thing. So they don't want that kind of rumor swirling around, and I always heard that premise that was thrown out there about Byron, and I never quite bought that as a legitimate story.
Sometimes it was like people being a team mouthpiece a little bit, and they were clearly just trying to say oh well, not everything's bad. But I don't think that he deserves as much credit as some people gave him for it. But I think he does deserve some.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll meet you halfway there. Now we talked about the news, and honestly, it's more of a lack thereof when we're talking about the Lakers right now. So we're gonna jump from that into more of the realm of trying to figure out what the Lakers might do next. We're just speculating relentlessly now, and the first little tidbit that happened just recently, Kelly Olynyk, according to Adrian Wojnarowski, did the Lakers a solid by pulling Kevin Love's arm out of its socket. First off, do you honestly think that would affect a free agent's decision to go somewhere just because a potential teammate pulled his arm off?
That's the best way to put it ever. But no, I mean, Olynyk, like I don't. I'll be honest. I don't watch the Celtics a lot, but when I do watch them, he's not anything like too special. And I think he does play that kind of 4 or 5 hybrid that Love plays. And so my impression of Danny Ainge, if that becomes an issue, is first he asks Kevin Love point blank, like, is this going to be an issue for you signing with us? And then if Kevin Love says yes, he picks up his phone and he calls somebody and trades Kelly Olynyk. Like.
That was my take immediately. Like,
Yeah, I don't think
buy it as something to take like actual news from and speculate about whether or not Kevin Love's going to go there. But if we find out that Kelly Olynyk is traded tomorrow, we know why.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if like on July 1st, like at midnight, like Woj drops a bomb, and it's like Kelly Olynyk traded to Sixers and salary dump, whatever, because can't have too many young power forwards.
Right. And then we're gonna find out that Olynyk is out for next season with a back injury.
Because Sam Presti kneecapped him getting off the plane.
Yeah, he's going to show up and Nerlens Noel will pop his arm out of the socket. I still think if Love is going anywhere, if he leaves Cleveland, which is 50-50, I think, in my opinion right now, which is like, look at me, Captain Easy stance right now, 50-50 chance he either leaves or he goes. But
sometimes the easy stance is the easy one because it's the right one. I'd agree with you on those odds.
Right. So I say if he does leave, it's for LA. It's for the Lakers. It's for being the centerpiece of a team once again, and not only being the centerpiece of a team, but being the centerpiece of the team. Right. Like everybody, all non-Laker fans are going to roll their eyes when I say this, but if you're the centerpiece of the Lakers, in some ways you're the centerpiece of the league. Right. Like LeBron's going to be, and Kevin Durant's going to be.
Jordan Clarkson would disagree with you at this point.
What's that?
Jordan Clarkson would disagree with you right now for this year.
Well, Jordan Clarkson's going to get, he's getting legitimate praise or consideration for the first team all rookies. You think he gets that if he was playing for like Utah?
Yeah, I think so. Probably not as much, but because there's just not as much media covering them. But right. I think he would get some.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, he would get some, like, because of his play, especially at the end of the year. But when you play for the Lakers and they're on TV so often and they're a story no matter what, like, people hate it when I say this, but the Lakers will never be completely irrelevant. The Lakers will never, like, that'll never happen. And if you're the guy in LA, you're in many ways the guy in the league. Especially if.
I will agree with you that you're a bigger deal than you would be necessarily.
Right. So, and that's part of it. I don't think his not playing the rest of the playoffs with Cleveland is necessarily a good thing for his return. Right. Like, it's not like he's going to look at that and say, "Man, what could have been?" Considering he would have been third fiddle on a title team. Like, he could have done that anywhere. He could do that literally anywhere. So, I don't know. Like, I would say 50-50 he goes to the Lakers. And if somebody told me I had to put $1 million on it that I don't have, shouts to Fansided. If somebody told me that I had to put $1 million on where Kevin Love ends up, I guess I'd have to put it on the Lakers.
Did you just make a salary demand on air? That might be a first for us.
You guys, Fansided, I demand $1 million right now.
You can DM the Houston Rockets social media guy and see what unemployed like NBA people get into now after this.
I may or may not have been searching that job description on LinkedIn today. I will neither confirm nor deny reports that was going on.
On the Kevin Love thing though, I don't know if it's as much. I think the Lakers, maybe they have the best odds to steal him, but he's from like the Oregon area, right?
Yeah.
Did the Blazers chase him if LaMarcus leaves? I think they'd have the cap room, wouldn't they? I was looking at their Basketball Insider. I was looking at their salary page on Basketball Insiders. It looks like they would have the room if LaMarcus left. I'm
Yeah,
not the best cap guy, but I think
I know because his situation there in Portland is kind of complicated because he's
oh,
from the
because
Portland area.
The Oregon chance when he was with UCLA, I forgot about that.
Right, right,
But then
and
the other teams that I was going to talk about was like, does Dallas chase him if Dirk decides to hang it up? I don't think he will, but and then like San Antonio even more so if Tim Duncan's out.
or I think all three Texas teams are going to have cap space this year.
Yeah, so like does it like Houston would be an unbelievable fit. Him playing next to Dwight, you would think.
But
Um,
like if he
it's kind of
leaves,
a similar situation as Cleveland, but in that
right,
case, he is getting to pick his team. There's no income tax. Howard and Harden can both tell him, yeah, we left X. Okay, well, yeah, Howard didn't really leave a championship contender, but we left X big teams in the league and came here and we're building our own thing. I think that might be a compelling recruiting pitch. And
yeah.
like San Antonio, like where do you rehab your image better than the team that I think I haven't checked my contract with like SB Nation or anything, but I don't think you're allowed to do anything but effusively praise San Antonio's culture. I think it's a fine uh, among writers. I think that's like pretty standard line. I don't think that you're allowed to question Popovich.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that. Last night I was kind of on a on a roll, I would say, rooting, tweeting and saying things on air that were very anti-San Antonio Spurs, and I got a stern-ass letter from Adam Silver this morning. Like, he was pissed. He was not happy with me for demeaning the baby of the league, the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah, I mean they're great, but it's just funny to be like they just you know Pop can basically tell reporters to F off during his press conferences, which if any player behaved like he does in the media, it would just be a firestorm of
Oh, I
criticism.
mean,
I
it's
mean, even though
it's
he does it, it's clearly wink wink a lot of the time. And apparently he's a great guy afterwards and whatever. He's always nice to reporters off the air, and it's just kind of become his shtick. But at the same time, it's just a lot of the stuff. It seems like it almost seems like it's illegal to criticize anything about what they do.
Would it shock you? Now I'm speculating completely recklessly here, but would it shock you if he wasn't? If he was a dick off camera too, and the league just told reporters, "Hey, say something nice about Pop. Say something nice about Pop right now. Do it right now."
I don't. It would shock me. I don't know when you read certain interviews with him, or you listen to him during the mic'd ups, joking around with his players, or segments that they'll run on NBA TV or something where they'll go inside a San Antonio Spurs practice, or they're talking to all of them after they won the championship last year. They did a group I don't know if you watched that, but a little documentary where they all talked about the run. He seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah, no, and he's a big wino, so he won me over there. Look at us, we're talking nicely about the Spurs. This is ridiculous.
See, this is what. Okay, we got to move on.
All right, so from media darling to media ugly dumpling, we're going to talk about Rajon Rondo. Go ahead.
Did you just mistake dumpling with duckling?
I'm hungry. Damn it, I was so proud of myself for that segue.
It was really good until you just slurred your words.
Yeah, no, I had
Speaking of wino.
Jen made this incredible Mexican casserole. It's like Mexican lasagna. It's so freaking good. I had 2 bites and was trying to work with my computer, so I was rushed, and now I'm thinking about dumplings. Those sound good too. Rajon Rondo is probably going to be, or is going to be, a free agent this year. He's going to be a free agent this year, and a lot of reports, numerous reports, a nauseating amount of reports have him coming to the Lakers. Harrison, I know you're higher on his prospects as a Laker than I am, so I'll go ahead and let you start.
I am?
I don't know. I mean, I think so.
You think yours are rock bottom, so...
Yeah, I'm thinking
you don't think I can go any lower than you.
All right.
The only way that I would be okay with signing him is on a very cheap like prove it deal, basically. Like maybe 2 years with a player option. And like even if it's a little bit of a higher salary or like a team option in year or whatever, but even if it's a little bit of a higher salary in year one or something this year when we aren't necessarily going to get anybody, and he's basically like I have a feeling the Lakers are just going to run it back with like the auditions thing that they've done like basically the last 2 years, where they're just saying like, hey, like could you be a part of our future? No, okay, we're going to move on. Except you, Wesley Johnson, you can stay.
No, he's not.
That's basically been their plan.
He's under different. No, he has a different agent now. They aren't keeping him around.
Oh yeah, that's right. Pelinka, he fired Pelinka, so he's gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it really just on a prove it deal or whatever. But otherwise, like I'm not okay at all with signing him to like more than 2 or 3 years. Like unless it's for like $2 million a year, which would never happen. But I just
I don't even think he's qualified. Like he like literally can't make $2 million a year. But
he's one of those guys where you would almost rather have a Ronnie Price type who's not very talented but at least understands his role and isn't going to like kind of rock the boat the whole time he's there like Rondo was in Dallas because he just couldn't handle not being the centerpiece of the offense. And like he's just such a control freak, and the way that he's described in like these profiles that people write about him, like that Baxter Holmes thing about a month ago, is almost like obsessive compulsive disorder with like having to control just everything. And it's like, not to sit here and irresponsibly diagnose someone on our podcast, but it's almost like that level of just like inflexibility to change and to not being able to like control things. And And so I don't know if you can like lock a guy like that up because.
Well, no, you're not. The Lakers aren't looking to lock him up.
I mean, that's what that report yesterday sounded like, so that was good.
Yeah, I'd heard. Was it Ding or who was it that said it was Ding that's saying that they aren't necessarily as high on him as they were earlier in the year, right?
Yeah, they said that he's not they said that he's not a priority in free agency. It was basically a front office plant. I don't like it. It could not have read much more like a front office plant.
Yeah, it was signed to Jim Buss.
Yeah.
And now I'll say this.
No, it was Kupchak. Jim Buss doesn't talk to the media.
That's a good point. He only talks to him like
that's
he has
why
to take
he has
off
such a bad reputation.
Yeah, poor guy. I met him. He was a nice guy, and he had twins on his arms. Like I can't hate that guy. But no, I think I've gone back and forth on Rondo. Like it speaks to how polarizing this guy is that within my own one person, I've gone back and forth on him repeatedly. Now you mentioned, having him on a prove it deal, but let's say, like hypothetically, they put him on that prove it deal and wind up, obviously Clarkson will be back next year. And it turns into like this year, I give Price credit for understanding what the situation was. And he had a really mature quote at the end of the year where he said, I want to make sure I was instilled, these veteran tricks from the prior generation, and it would be selfish of me to keep them from me. So he made sure to pass those along to Clarkson. And I thought that was really mature because at the end of the day, they are competing professionally for the same job. Right?
Yeah, Price seems like a good dude. I mean, we hated on him a lot this year, but he seems like a really nice guy.
He does. I mean, and for example, I think I'm a couple years older than you, maybe more than a couple. But if hypothetically you and I were fighting for the same job position, and I was told a couple tricks by people whom I've met along my way here, I wouldn't necessarily raise you up on my way out the door. That might just be me putting my own 2 cents on this thing, but that was really professional of him. And based on everything we've seen and heard from Rajon Rondo, I'm not necessarily sure he would do that for Clarkson. He would be that mature with the Jordan Clarkson. And I'm not saying that Clarkson is a number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 priority moving forward. I'm not as high on him as a lot of other fans apparently are. But if he is a point guard of yours moving forward, you should do everything you can to develop the kid, right? And
Yeah.
if Rondo in any way, shape, or form precludes that development, it's not worth keeping him around. It really isn't. It's not worth even looking into it. You know, I'd much rather roll Ronnie Price back another year at the minimum than have Rajon Rondo there trying to earn his next max deal in LA.
That's a
You
good
know.
point. I was, to a degree, I was playing devil's advocate, but,
Yeah.
um, you know,
And I'm not,
I'd
there is a
rather,
devil's once I like there is a devil's advocate point to be made though, where like the Lakers this year, like if you mentioned rolling it back with like the 1 year tryout kind of thing again, that in no way serves the Lakers, right? Like their number 1 pick next year is only top 3 protected. If they don't if they don't convey it this year, it becomes top 3 protected next year. And if they keep their pick this year and they are able to sign a couple decent free agents, I see them not necessarily making a run at the playoffs, but I don't know, try to squeak into that 10 spot and show some kind of progress moving forward. Because at the end of the day, I'm not saying I just said not 15 minutes ago that they'll never be irrelevant, but eventually fans are going to start getting sick of next year, guys. I promise. Nope, next year. I promise, guys. We're gonna take the leap. The league's too smart, I think, for the leap.
it's just going to depend on who's available, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, and like who's really available. We know who's a free agent and all that, but like who's really available to them, and like what the cost of that would be. And I think that that's really what it's going to come down to.
Yeah. I mean,
For which direction they go. My gut feeling, I still think I don't see them commit. I mean, maybe they bring in one extra role, like kind of somewhat pricey role player, but does that make them that much better that they're all of a sudden jumping up to the 10th spot? And either way, they're still they have to fill out the rest of the team, and I think it's mostly just gonna be kind of 1 year guys with upside.
and I think too. I don't know. You see some of the teams, especially at the top end of both conferences, right? Neither the Warriors or the Hawks are built like the last few champions, right? I mean, you don't necessarily have the Spurs are in a weird position because they somehow convince all their players to stupidly take these pay cuts, but the
It's the winning
Miami
mentality. It's the culture.
it's stupid. You're leaving money on the table. Like the owner is making plenty of money off you guys, and but like you look at the Miami thing, and you go back to the Boston thing, and you go back to the Lakers thing, where they had top max level, talent at the top end of their roster, and they tried to fill the gaps accordingly, right? For a golfer in your bag, if you only have $1,000 to spend, that's like spending, $500 on your driver, another $300 on your putter or on your irons, and then trying to skimp around and try to find a used sand wedge or something like that. We're finding out that equation isn't necessarily working as much anymore. When you see like Golden State, where they have, a more, money is more spread across the roster. Atlanta, same
But
thing.
that's only because that's hard to do because that's only because they got Stephen Curry and his at the time people thought were paper mache ankles on an $11 million a year deal, and they drafted Klay Thompson and they drafted Harrison Barnes and they signed Andre Iguodala to like a fairly pricey deal, but they traded for Bogut. They got him I think they re-signed Bogut already, right?
I believe so. I think he's on an
Yeah.
extension.
I think they got like a little bit of a discount for him because of like his ankle things, and
Right.
so like they overpaid for Lee, they paid about market value for Iguodala, but the rest of these guys they got on discounts for whatever reason, and so like it's like the Spurs, it's hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there. I mean, I was. I'm not gonna lie. I was about to have the worst lead in the history of blogging. I was going to say today, or in the article that ran today, shameless plug, Wig Show Live, I wrote about the 11 worst blah, 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 blah. But my lead was going to be there are several ways to build a champion. And I looked at myself and I said, you're the worst writer in the history of people. But there really are. I mean, you could write, you could put all these teams together in as many ways as possible. I just think the days of, especially heading into the, if there is a lockout and you have Chris Paul and LeBron James heading the players union and they're trying to fight against, taking away or fight for taking away max contracts, trying to heavily invest in top tier talent and then try to fill out the roster with minimum contracts. I don't think those days are going to be here for much longer. Talking about top tier talent or the lack thereof and minimum wage and expensive role players, Nick Young is under contract for the next 4 years, I believe, right? Or 3 years or so.
3 years. 3 years. With a player
he was on
at the end.
4-year, $20 million with a You are actually higher on Nick Young.
Yes.
I think you might actually be high, but what with Nick Young, what do you see that he brings to the table that makes you want to keep him around for the entirety of his contract?
I mean, I don't know that I necessarily want to keep him around for the entirety of his contract. Like, I'm not some crazed Nick Young stan where I'm going to say there's absolutely no scenario where you could trade him or let him go or whatever. I just don't see.
He's lying.
Reason.
He's lying, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm gonna. Before we came on here, he was wearing. If you pan down to the ground, he already took it off, but he has a Nick Young jersey. Just to let everybody know, this is a conversation that was going on before. Harrison is a Nick Young stan. He's worse than Iggy. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Harrison. Sorry.
I fought a dolphin just to be like him. But no, I'm not saying that you don't trade him under any for any reason, but you don't salary dump him after signing him to this 4-year deal that's not actually that bad with the cap going up, and especially because he does bring. I mean, he didn't this season because he was hurt and because he was misused, but he's shown that he can shoot the three pretty effectively, and guys like that are valuable. And so when you're not asking him to come in and be Jamal Crawford and come in off the bench and just isolate and here Nick Young, it's like this Neanderthal way that kind of Byron used him and was like, oh, you're microwave 6-man scorer, so you have to come in, handle the ball the whole time, and create everything, and that's why you can't play with the starters, because you need the ball in your hands all the time to be effective. And that's not Nick Young. He can make flashy plays and do that kind of thing, but if he's going to be at his best, you have to be using him off the ball a little bit more, and that just didn't happen this season, and it did happen under D'Antoni. And you saw he put up a career year to where not everybody, but a lot of people were saying that it was a really smart move for the Lakers to re-sign him to that deal that he got. And I still think I don't see it as being that harmful with the cap going up, but I know that you disagree for certain reasons. And also, he's fun. It's not bad to have someone on the team that's not just talking about toughness and championship mentality all the time.
Look, I am in no way, shape, or form anti-fun. I'm the guy who writes terrible jokes. For example, you mentioned the Neanderthal. The Neanderthal way that Byron uses them, immediately what crossed my mind is, all right, next year I'm calling Byron a Byronderthal, because that's how my mind works.
I think I just died inside a little bit when you made that joke.
But my problem with Nick Young, look, yeah, how many role players, though, we know historically about the Lakers role players getting overpaid, but how about D'Antoni guys getting paid and not living up to their second contract post D'Antoni, right? And yeah,
well, because
right.
They go to a situation like Nick Young went to, where he didn't leave the team, but he went to a different coach that is like, oh, you put up these stats so you can do, this no matter how I use you, and it's context sensitive. But go ahead,
right.
Sorry.
But to that point, though, we're gonna play Amin Elhassan's favorite game right now, we're going to play that Patino game. Mike D'Antoni ain't walking through that door, And if that's the case, and we continue to see Byron use him as he did last year, his value is only going to continue to go down. Heading into the season, after they signed him to that contract, if they signed him and then immediately traded for him, they might have gotten, what would you have said, if they moved him right at the beginning of the season, right after they signed him, for whatever stupid reason, it wouldn't have actually happened. This is purely hypothetical. But would they have gotten a high second rounder for him? Would they have gotten even a low first rounder for him from a contender who was hoping to get some scoring off the bench?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I think they could have, they should have gotten into the Kevin Love derby. Minnesota wanted Klay Thompson. We just give them the next best thing.
I will not grace that with a response. But if the Lakers, they put him out there, they floated out there that he is reportedly on the trade block, what would they get? They maybe a second rounder.
They wouldn't get a second rounder for him now. They'd have to give a second rounder.
They'd
at
have
least
to,
to move him right now.
One of those future conditional second rounders that probably never actually conveys. It would be a salary dump.
Yeah, or at the very least, they wouldn't get anything of substance back. It would be like one of those things where like two teams trade headaches.
Right, and if that's the case, right, if that's what we're looking at, and that Byron is going to be back next year, and I haven't heard a single quote from his exit interviews, from seeing him coach last season, to his personality as that hard-ass, that stubborn hard-ass coach who refuses to give an inch, right, that he's going to continue to use him as he did last year. If his drop was so precipitous from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, and then you're looking at, what he might bring to the table next year, and then to the end of the year, like it would wind up having to be a first that they'd have to attach to him. They would never do it, but they'd have to attach like a first round pick to get rid of him next year, right? And
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I don't know about a first. I think
if they really needed to get rid of him, like right now, like if it was such a problem, or they'd have to eat all of his contract or something like that, right? Just outright waive him. They'd probably outright waive him before they trade a first rounder with him.
Yeah, but then they don't get cap relief. But anyway, yeah.
Right. Well, either waive him or like the thing that I brought up this heading into the offseason here, I tweeted it maybe a week or two before the season ended. Why not stretch him, right? I mean, you talk about how the cap going up, his contract actually isn't that bad moving forward for the next 3 years. But if you can slice that in half over the next 6, I believe stretching him opens up room for a second max contract. I don't know if my math is completely off there, or if not a second max, I think another 15 or 20% kind of raise or something like that.
Are you talking about this coming summer?
This coming summer, if they waived him right now, and you went from having him,
they only have $20 million, I believe, about maybe a little
25.
I think it's less. I think that there are like cap holds on, so it's functionally less. It might be that amount, but it's like it's one of those things.
When you talk about like the cap holds and stuff like that,
it's around 20. It's closer to 20 million in like real space.
Right. Well, I personally, again, you talk about, and man, I'm gonna get super hot takey here, but like the Lakers, the last 2 seasons have been a joke. The person at the center of that equation was Nick Young. He's an effing joke. And if you're talking about, building up that image that the Lakers work off of, right? Like it was so stiff when I would watch, Time Warner Sports, talk about Swaggy and all that stuff. You could just tell that like James Worthy didn't really care about any of it, and he's trying to like buy into it and make fun with it and stuff like that. That's just not the Lakers. That's not how they operate. And if you're hoping to get back to that image, you have to get rid of this guy. You kind of have to. But
I get that. I understand that a little bit, but they've had like wacky role players in the past. They've had like
when they were
Meta World
winning,
Peace.
when they were
Yeah,
winning,
so like if like you're saying they're going to try and be a little more competitive this year or next year, I just don't see it as much of a problem. But
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
and and I'm not going about this in the sense that like find a trade for him at all. That's their number one priority. Obviously, the number one priority, far and away, is something that they can't control even a little bit, right? With the lottery.
yeah.
Um, and I would have been livid had they chosen Nick Young over Byron Scott, because that's only further living up to we are a joke. Here's our jester. You know. Um,
I mean, at that point, they might as well have just sent Iggy Azalea.
yeah. Well, they have to send legends. Oh my God! I just said legends when I was thinking about the Lakers, about Nick Young. Oof, man. Lakers,
Yeah, you're
please
right.
get better.
Robert's not great in that case, but
Yeah. he's he's I, he's on a partial guarantee too next year, right? So he's probably coming back. Man, that
I think
sucks.
he's back. I think he's coming back. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would say I would probably, if I were again betting on it, I say Nick Young is a Laker next year. I don't think they find a deal for him because I don't think they want to attach an asset to a guy leaving, nor do I think they want to just eat salary. So, I think at the end of the day, like I said, he's going to be a Laker. I do hope, though, I really do. And this isn't, I like the fun athlete. I like the honest athlete. I like the guy. I think Byron takes too much criticism for having interest aside from basketball. But I really do
Wait,
hope
you think who? Byron?
Bynum.
Oh, Bynum. Okay, I
Bynum.
thought you said Byron. Go ahead.
Oh, Byron has
I
no
was like,
interest outside of
what are you
basketball.
talking? What?
No, he has no interest whatsoever. He doesn't even move his
Yeah.
arms. But I like that athlete. I enjoy the interviews that those guys give. But I really do hope Nick Young takes this season as somewhat of a kick in the ass. All these trade rumors. You had Laker Nation last year with their stupid "Stay Swag" slogan that looks really ridiculous in hindsight. You went from the peaks of that swaggy P. What is it? Lynn Sanity, Swaggy P Sanity, which is terrible. That's a terrible name. But you had that height to now the low that we have here. And if he takes this as a kick in the butt and comes back, has a strong year next year, all the more for him. I'll be the first one to praise him. But if he continues to be a joke and he continues to live up to that title, there's just no need for him around young guys. But we're gonna end this
Well,
on something fun. Would you have another point?
I was just gonna ask more ridiculous PR campaign in retrospect. Stay Dwight or stay Swag.
Have I ever told you my conspiracy theory on the Stay Dwight thing?
No.
So, for those who don't know it, I
Uh,
worked in public relations before this, right? I was doing PR for cops. So, if you want an interesting take on the Baltimore thing, DM me or at me or whatever. But um, the thing with the Stay Dwight thing was that after they did that, if he left, he now became the villain. He's the guy who made the Lakers do all these crazy things that they've never done before. And for him to turn his back on that, now they can turn around to their fans and say, look, guys, we tried to relate to this guy. He's just that immature that he wanted to go to Houston anyway, right? That in that sense, if that's what they were actually doing, which they'd never admit to because, that's a PR move. You never admit to a
yeah.
PR move. If that's what their end game was, then that's a genius move, right? That's playing chess. Uh,
Yeah, they,
the
they put up the billboards, but then they bring an angry Kobe Bryant to the recruitment pitch.
right, and they don't fire Mike D'Antoni,
They're like,
right?
Kobe, throw your rings on the table and tell him that this is your team, but you're going to teach him how to be a champion. He's going to love it.
Oh, I don't know. Do you watch Silicon Valley?
No.
Oh man, too bad. Well, for those of you who do watch Silicon Valley, there is a separate article of a person that was placed on a table that you guys are probably laughing about right now. Harrison, you have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's a great show. Watch that show. No, I think in that sense, though, I think the statewide thing was actually kind of a genius stroke. And my boss, my mentor, he was the one that kind of planted that idea, and I really agree with him. I just talked about it. But the state's flag thing was so dumb, was so stupid, because the end game of that is, right, so like the end game of that is if Nick Young turns that down, it's not like Laker fans are going to say to themselves, oh, see, he didn't like L.A. anyway. We all knew he liked L.A. It didn't matter if he turned his back on L.A.
That wasn't the team, though. That was Lakers Nation that put
right,
that
was
on.
Laker Nation. But what I'm saying is, like, they put them in a situation where, especially, like, I doubt the actual Lakers organization liked that they did that, because they kind of painted the Lakers in a situation where they had to offer Nick Young a contract. Not that they may not have wanted to, but you never want to risk any kind of leverage in contractual negotiations. So Stay Swag was really, really dumb. Really, and that's not even in hindsight. That's like, as it was going on, I was sitting there like, really?
No, even that one was too much for me. Like, I like Nick Young, but that was too much.
Yeah. Well, the best was, and I saw this a bunch as that was going on. And then heading into this offseason, they had, Nick Young is reportedly on the trading block. I don't know who did it. I might have. I forget who did it. But they said, like, they manual RT'd it and did the hashtag Stay Swag thing. And it was a perfect tweet. So to whoever did that, I definitely don't think it was me. That's way more clever than I am. But whoever did that was a great tweet. But yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Harrison had no idea this was coming. I had no idea this was coming. But if you had one word to sum up these NBA playoffs so far, how would you do so?
Oh, okay. Well, you put me on the spot. Oh, can you go first?
All right. I put myself on the spot. This isn't even in my notes. Look,
okay.
These are my notes. It's not on there. But all right. So if I had one way to put this, I'm gonna go questionable. I
think I know why, but explain.
Now, I have long been on the widen the NBA court bandwagon. Like, make this thing bigger, because these guys are so big, so fast, and they're colliding at such incredible paces. They're superheroes out there. Like, every time you're watching this game, just focus on the key, and it's like the Marvel's Avenger movie is being brought to life in these small spaces. It's incredible. They're really, really, great athletes. And I hate the fact that we're looking at this right now, and you look on down the line, you have guys either out or questionable. Key guys either out or questionable moving forward for these teams. And at some point, the NBA has to look at that and say, man, what can we do to take that? Not take it. You're never going to take it all the way out of the equation, but what can we do to, get stars in the playoffs again? So my playoff word so far is questionable. Shouts to Jrue Holiday.
That's a good one. I was actually thinking of doing ouch, but I decided to go with persuasive. Because they've been very persuasive for a lot of cases, like the case to get rid of the Hack-a-Shaq, and like you said, the case to widen the court, the case to lengthen the season so that these guys are getting less wear and tear injuries.
And by lengthen, you mean like spread out the season.
Spread it out, yeah. Spreads, like put more gaps in between games, or shorten the amount of games.
Mm-hmm.
So those kind of things, it's made a lot of arguments for stuff like that, getting rid of the intentional fouling, widening the court, like spreading out the games a little bit more, shortening the amount of games, all that stuff. These playoffs with all the guys getting hurt, you just, like, some of them are freak injuries, like Kevin Love obviously is like a weirdo, like, freak thing. But just a lot of these things where guys are just getting nicked up the whole year, and like you said, they're smashing into each other, like a scene out of Age of Ultron, which I'm seeing tomorrow.
I can't wait.
It's just it's craziness. Like they're putting multi-million-dollar investments into these guys, but they're too short-sighted to protect them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it just speaks
And
to,
even just from a human perspective, like you don't want to see these guys getting like crumpled on the ground out there.
Well, and I have long been, I actually pose a question out there. What purpose do these owners serve? And these owners can claim that they love the players. They can claim that they love the game. They can claim that they love the fans. But at every step along the way, their ideas go against the benefit of all the things that they claim to love, right? Like, let's spread out the season, let's shorten the games, all this stuff. No, we can't because of TV and ticket, revenue and all that stuff. And I don't know. I think the day of the owner should have come and gone by now, given how much sponsorships play a part in league revenue and how much TV deals play a part in league revenue. That those guys, these billionaires up at the top making these decisions, they're effing selfish, man. And with these playoffs, just think about how much more fun the Grizzlies game that's I think going on right now. I have my door closed.
I think Grizzlies just won.
Breaking news: Grizzlies just beat the Trailblazers. But think about how much more fun that series would be if Mike Conley's face didn't have titanium shoved in it, and Wesley Matthews' Achilles was still attached to his foot. You just keep on going. How these playoffs without Kevin Durant seem like they're missing Kevin effing Durant. And the NBA title has become more a trophy of attrition than actual legitimate talent spread across rosters, and it's really too bad that that's the case. So I'm not saying that these playoffs haven't been interesting. I've been glued to the TV
good, actually.
Yeah, they've been it's not like you can say they've been play awful, but no, they've been really interesting. Thank you.
You sit around thinking of these all day. I know you do. You won't admit it, but you do.
No, it's just how my brain works. It's a sad thing. Like I'm laughing on the outside, but like some part of me is crying. They've been fun, but just the whole time you're watching, you're thinking, what more could they be?
Yeah.
So
no, I agree.
On that semi-sad note, that the point of that game was to have some fun. But no, it's the playoffs have been a lot of fun. We're just within a month now of the NBA lottery. Who's counting? Harrison, continue your great work on Silver Screen and Roll. We're going to try to get some more content going within our own site. It's been kind of tough with everybody's schedules, but hang in there. Thank you, those of you who have gotten our account to plus 600 followers somehow. That's crazy to me that we just started maybe a couple months ago and we're up to 600. So, and you guys are really great. When Gary runs the simulation, I'm not at my laptop right now. Did you see how the simulation went?
We kept it. I think third pick.
Breaking news: Lakers kept their pick. So if you've been watching this, you've gotten your good dose of news. So yeah. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thank you, Harrison, for taking time out of your day. And we're gonna start getting these things going regularly pretty soon. I got to get back on that guest list.
All right. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.